Welcome to Rightly Speaking. I am Shannon. Let's get into it. The Schumer shutdown is coming to an end. No thanks to Schumer himself. I hear he is quite pissed at his 8 fellow Democrats who decided that enough is enough and this is stupid and it's making us look bad, so we're gonna just go ahead and nip this in the bud. Um, Bravo is all I can say. I'm glad they finally were came to a little bit of sense. They're all moderates. Now Durbin, I will say Senator Durbin surprised me. Um, I didn't think he would be one of the 8 to cave, but right, good on him. I'm glad he did. And what's even better is Schumer has and the other left wing extremist Democrats we have in Congress, they got nothing. Zero. Zilch. They received really nothing that Schumer was asking for and was standing his ground over. And that he and Jeffries were up there spewing about health care, health care. We've got to extend the Obama credits for health care. Well, like I told you all last week, the Democrats are the one that set them to expire anyway, so that when the time came, they could extort the insurance companies again and say, hey, we're going to get these credits extended so you continue to get that money. So you can give us a little kickback for it, and everybody wins except for the American people. So they set this up to happen on purpose. You know, they talk about how healthcare is broken. They had 4 years to fix it. They didn't. It's Obamacare has been a total disaster. Totally. It's failed. It's time for everybody to admit it, do away with it, and let's go back. You know, when Obamacare was passed, 70% of Americans said they were happy with the status of their health insurance. 70%. And Democrats forced it down our throats anyway. In the middle of the night, and said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to pay all this money, whether you like it or not. You're going to have shitty insurance. It's going to cause basically insurance companies to own the hospitals and the doctors. So your care is even going to go down for more money. Isn't that always like the Democratic way? They, they have a solution and all it does is ended up costing the American people more money. That's kind of their thing, their MO. The lawmakers get rich, the insurance companies get rich, we pay more for it. We're like subsidizing the income of Congress with all these bills they pass. Obamacare was fining American citizens for not having health care, even though a majority of them couldn't afford to have it in the first place. But you were getting fined on your tax return every year for not having it. And then they ship in all these illegal aliens and give it to them for free. Does anybody else see a problem with that? I mean, it's just a broken system. It needs to be just do away with it. It's not working. It's never worked. It's never worked from day one. It's made everything worse. The only people it's helped are the insurance companies and the congressmen that have been getting kickbacks for lobbying for it every year and for extending those Obamacare credits. That's who's making money off of Obamacare. Another thing about the shutdown, you've got these Democrats like Schumer and Jeffries and all the other insane ones there screaming. They've been screaming this whole time. This is not a Democratic shutdown. This is not a Democratic shutdown. But last night and today, now they're screaming, I can't believe the Democrats opened the government. I can't believe the Democrats opened the government. Can't be both ways. You can't have Democrats not responsible for the shutdown in the first place and then have Democrats be responsible for opening the government. If they're responsible for opening it, they're the ones responsible for closing it. End of story. There's no argument anymore, which there never was for a majority of people anyway. But this was a Democratic shutdown. Plain and simple. That's how people see it now. That's how people will see it in the future until we're no longer here. People will remember that the longest shutdown in history was caused by Chuck Schumer. Period. And so, one thing I don't like about this compromise they did um, was having to hire back all the fired employees that Trump fired. That was part of the agreement. I don't like it, but it wasn't my decision. Trump endorsed it, so I just I didn't even want to give them that much because I think if we'd have waited a little while longer, we wouldn't have had to give anything. But I know they're trying to get people paid. They're trying to get people's um, SNAP benefits back to them, which this compromise does fund SNAP. Trump also is giving $10,000 bonuses for all the air traffic controllers that continued to come to work even though they were not getting paid. Which I say bravo. They deserve it. He's not very happy with the people with the air traffic controllers that stayed home and didn't come to work despite not getting paid. Um, Hopefully those individuals, because I know like my ex works for the federal government and he will receive back pay. But I don't I hope the people that were not showing up for work, surely they're not going to receive back pay for not coming to work, right? But I've got to applaud the air traffic controllers that did show up because their job is stressful anyway when they're fully staffed and you take all these people out of the equation. I mean, can you imagine the pressure in all those control towers? But anyway, I guess you can get back to flying and things will be okay, at least through the holidays. At least everybody's travel plans for Thanksgiving and Christmas should be okay. Um, so that's good. That's good. I saw where Nancy Pelosi's daughter is now running for the U.S. Senate. I guess she's hoping to take her mom's job. And I mean, who can blame her? Her mother is worth like $413 million. The only job she's ever had is being in the Senate or being in government. Hmm. It's crazy how you can become a multi millionaire working public service. You all know they're crooked, and you all know how Pelosi got all of her millions. So, but I guess that's what her daughter's trying to do. It's like, Mom did it, I can do it. I'll go in there. I'll make all these stock trades and become a multi millionaire also. So Trump is also saying that He's going to give $2,000 to every American, every low income American. He hasn't yet just, let us know what low income means. Um, maybe it'll help some of these people catch up who weren't getting paid or being able to work for the last 40 days. Um, he also said that the rest of the money, whatever was left over, was going to go to pay down the debt, which I love Trump, but I thought that was already being done. But I don't know. I guess not. I do not know. So Trump right now is trying to convince the Supreme Court to let his tariffs continue, and I hope they do. Um, they're kind of the questions they've been asking is kind of trending toward they may not. They may find it unconstitutional, even though it's been done in the past. Um, but I don't know. I hope they stay in place just because, not even really for the money, which the money is great, but he's been able to do all these trade deals because he has all the leverage with these tariffs that he's been imposing. And all of these other countries that that we're imposing tariffs on impose tariffs on us and have been doing that for decades. So, I mean, I don't understand why it hasn't been done more to use as a bargaining chip, which Trump has done perfectly. And he's right. It has led to all of these trade deals that he's been able to make because he has all the leverage. So, I mean, all these other countries, except for maybe China, which he is, the tariffs on China have been skyrocketing, as have theirs on us. Um, but the meeting a couple of weeks ago between Trump and the president of China, it seemed to go well. Some good things came out of it. So I just hope that they let Trump do what he needs to do to keep us from being taken advantage of, like we have been for a long, long time, except between the years of 2016 and 2020, or it's 2017 and 2021. Speaking of 2020, the election of 2020, which we all know was stolen, but that's beside the point. So they've discovered who the actual pipe bomber on J6 was. So I just want to show you how Google is hiding things because it was supposedly the granny or whatever. Well, it's not the granny. It's a former Capitol police officer who got a job with the CIA. And when you try to Google it, doesn't come up. Does not come up that they've actually identified someone. Guys, when we as MAGA or Republicans say that the media is biased and people just laugh, the media is biased. This woman's picture has been all over Facebook. All over. Her name is out there. They have identified this woman, but you can't even Google it for it to come up. Why is that? Because it totally changes the whole narrative of January 6th. when you add that to the 250 so odd FBI agents that were in place, it verifies everything we've been saying for the last 4 years. Is that why you won't print it or talk about it? Because as once again, we were right. And now Trump has threatened to sue the BBC because they did a documentary on J6 and conveniently left out his tweet where he specifically asked people not to go to the Capitol and to remain peaceful. They painted Trump as the big mastermind behind that insurrection that day. And now we all know the real person behind it was Pelosi. It was a planned attack to make Americans forget about the fact that the 2020 election was stolen from Trump. If they weren't so worried, if they didn't rig the election, why go through all that trouble? Because it's obvious they did. They went through a whole lot of trouble to make Trump and his supporters look like terrorists, basically. Why did they push so hard to have all these people arrested? It's the same reason that those of us that weren't involved directly were all called conspiracy theorists. They want to paint you in this corner and hope and pray that the majority of Americans find you crazy and unreliable, hostile, violent. That's the Democrats' game. They have no ideas, no platform other than give everything to illegals and let them live in America for free and give them everything they want. That's their big platform. And it doesn't that's not what Americans want to hear. But that's their whole platform. They don't have any good ideas to fix anything in this country. So all they attack the people that do and the people that that America at large is actually listening to. They're trying to make Trump look crazy. They're trying to make Republicans look crazy. They're trying to make MAGA look crazy. Because that's all they got. That is all they can do, because what they want for America is the exact opposite of what the majority of Americans in this country want. And they try to make it not seem that way. They try to make you think, with all these protests and stuff, that there's this big majority out there that does not approve of the Trump administration or approves of everything the Democratic Party says, when in reality that's not true. They just make the most noise. And I, for one, wish that would change. I wish that we, as Republicans and MAGA, would speak up. Get in the streets. If there's a protest that's planned that the left is having and doing, let's just show up there too. I know that people have been doing that in small groups. I wish we could mobilize and get mobilized like they have. I mean, we don't have that money behind us because it's not like Soros is paying, it's going to pay us to be professional protesters, but we need to organize people. We need to make it known that America is not going to fall like England has done, like Canada has done. We need to start following the Polish and the Italians as far as our views on immigration. Just lock it down. Lock it down. Ban Muslims from entering this country. Plain and simple. We don't need them. They don't belong here. They're not trying to assimilate to America. They're trying to take over America. That's not immigrating. That's an invasion. That's you invading a country, not immigrating to a country. If they were just immigrants, they would assimilate to our culture, our values, what we stand for. But they come in this country and dare you, as an American, to question their culture, their beliefs, even though it want what they believe, their belief system that has no room for you in it. And I just wish more people understood that. They're not here to immigrate. They're here to invade. We've already seen them do it in other countries. So why are we sitting back and letting that happen? How did in the hell did Mom Donnie get elected? That's what we need to figure out. Not, I mean, we need to worry that he's in power, of course, but what we need to do is get down and fix the issues that allowed that man to become mayor of the biggest city in the country. Because you have all these college graduates that voted him in who have never, I doubt they've read a book, let alone read anything on communism or socialism. They've been brainwashed into thinking that those systems work and are good for people because they don't want to work. They just want to spend other people's money. What they don't understand is in those programs, these other people that are paying for your stuff will eventually run out of money also. That's how it works every single time it's been tried. And don't come at me with, well, real socialism's never been tried before. I will smack you in your face. That is utter bullshit. That's what they like to say. And then you ask them, well, what is real socialism? And they tell you exactly what they were doing. And that's what they were doing. It's real socialism, okay? Socialism is socialism. Except for in Switzerland. And is not a pure socialist country. They're a capitalist country when it comes to the economy. But they do provide certain social programs. But it's not the whole country. It's not like capitalism is not existing in that country. That is their economy. Their economy is capitalist. They have a capitalist economy that also provides certain social programs. But the bare bones of the economy is capitalism. Because that's the only thing that works. You know, this whole Mom Donnie, getting back to Mom Donnie and his situation. So, things are already starting to unravel. His plans are already starting to unravel. The biggest trucking company in this country, Swift Trucking, has told their dispatchers, do not book any loads going into the five boroughs of New York. We're no longer doing that as of January. Mamdani is wanting to like quadruple tolls and fees that these truckers have to pay to even come in to the city, to bring goods to the city. This is the largest trucking company in the United States saying we are not going to service New York City. Period. What effect do you think that's going to have? Where's the food? How's the food going to get into your city? How is washing detergent going to get into your city? How are new televisions going to get into your city? How are any consumer goods going to get into your city when they're when the biggest, and it's not just these drivers that work directly for Swift, because they contract out a lot of this work to like independent drivers in that area. And it's going to put a lot of those independent truckers out of business. And I don't think Swift will be the last trucking company to not want to pay quadruple tolls and fees to enter the city of New York. That's just the first to say, yeah, we're cutting it off. It's like they had it planned. Like if this guy wins, we're done with New York City. And who can blame them? There's no way they would be able to make money on a load going into New York City when tolls and fees are quadruple. They're quadruple. Because he's trying to raise revenue. Socialism doesn't work. You know, Connecticut, um, real estate, you know, all these New Yorkers are calling real estate agents' phones are ringing off the hook in Connecticut, in Florida. Um, those are the two main cities because the 2% of people, the rich people, people with money that live in New York City that account for 50% of the tax revenue collected in that city are getting the hell out of there. Wall Street, the stock exchange is moving to Dallas. They're getting out of New York. He wants to raise these taxes. Well, first of all, the governor of New York has said that she is absolutely does not support a tax increase. She doesn't support free public transportation. And she said she's not changing her mind on that. And really, it doesn't matter anyway because the people that Mamdani was wanting to raise the taxes on so that they could bring in more revenue to redistribute, they're not going to let him take their money. They're getting the hell out of there, which we all knew would happen. We've said it since day one. But you've got uneducated college graduates that have no idea what the real world is like, can't hold down a real job, never had to work for anything in their lives. They're ignorant on how anything in the world works. But they think socialism is great because that means that other people have to pay for our stuff and we won't have to do anything. Yay! Fucking morons. That whole city is just I do feel sorry for the people that are stuck there because there's a lot of middle class to lower income people that absolutely did not vote for Mom Donnie, but they're stuck because they've allowed all of this Muslim immigration to just take their city over. So they don't have a voice in their own city anymore because they've been so overtaken with the Muslim population that they've let come in, and nobody wanted to do anything about it. And let's make New York a sanctuary city. And this is the result of that. But you've moved all these people into the city that don't belong there. They're not New Yorkers. They're not even Americans. And I feel bad because I feel bad for the people that can't leave. They're going to be so screwed, and they don't have a voice in their city anymore because, I mean, essentially, you've been electing officials for years and years that have allowed this to happen. So you're partly to blame for this. A lot of the blame goes on you. But I mean, I still feel bad for them since they can't leave. But I'm hoping what this does, because New York everybody's eyes are on New York, right? Even without this, New York is like, our big city. Everybody pays attention to everything going on in New York City, even if you don't live there. So what I'm hoping happens is this opens a lot of eyes. I doubt that it will, because these liberals they're so brainwashed, and this idea is so ingrained in them because they've had it shoved into their brain by educators in this country that socialism is great. Socialism works. It doesn't work because people get sick and tired of working for other people's to pay for other people's stuff. I don't like paying for other people's stuff. I wish they would abolish income taxes altogether. Before 1913, we didn't have an income tax, and we had roads, we had schools. We were okay. And now they're taking 30% of our income without asking. Lincoln was the first president to ever implement an income tax, and it was right after the Civil War, to pay for Reconstruction and to pay for reparations. Which, by the way, anyone out there, you've already been paid for reparations for slavery. Lincoln did it and gave it to the people that were actually slaves. And it was paid for by the people that actually owned slaves. So get over all this reparation shit. Just a side note there. But when he had that stuff paid for, the income tax disappeared. It's not, it was never meant, even when it was passed in 1913, it was never meant to be a forever thing. But you had all these crooked politicians coming in and saying, hey, we got a lot of money coming in from these people. Let's just keep taking it. What are they going to do? And we didn't do anything. This country started because people were upset over a 2% tax. 2%. Now we are just freely giving them 30%, at least. In some cases, it's higher than that. And we're funding all this stuff for lazy ass people that don't want to get out and work and then want to cry. They're so dependent on the government. The government shuts down. You can't eat, which is exactly what socialism is. It was this week, well, these last 2 weeks have been a great lesson on socialism. If you depend on the government for everything, they can stop everything coming to you anytime they want. So it just upsets me greatly because it's the same old song and dance. I don't understand. I don't get, after all these hundreds of years, why people still tout socialism as the answer. The only people that would be happy with socialism are the people in charge. You, as just a regular citizen, should never think that socialism is good for you as an individual, because the very nature of it takes away everything from the individual and gives it to the government, the ruling class. But I need to stop that rant for today. Did I mention? I think I started talking about the BBC incident where they left out a lot of information that pretty much clears Trump of any wrongdoing on that day. He has threatened them, or did threaten them, with a $1 billion lawsuit if they didn't get this straight. No, you know, retract it, apologize. Well, the president of BBC has, as of today, has resigned. So I don't know. I imagine he was probably forced to resign and told to resign, or you're going to cost us $1 billion. I think there's a few more resignations coming down the line. But we all know that Trump will slap a lawsuit on a media company in a heartbeat. And even if he won any amount, I mean, anything close to that $1 billion, basically the BBC would be bankrupt. So I imagine they're going to appease Trump and give in to his request so that he doesn't file that lawsuit. I mean, they don't really have a choice. I mean, they have to. So I do want to get back to the Democrats for just a minute concerning this, I guess, break of these, I guess the betrayal of these 8 Democrats that crossed the aisle and voted with the Republicans. You, you know that's you know that Schumer's ears are blowing smoke over that, and think I think it's a good sign, for America as a whole. I don't. I mean, you're gonna have all of these. The Democrats, they can't even agree on things in their own party. And their party has been taken over by socialists, plain and simple. And the people that are still in the Democratic Party have just allowed that element, these extremists, these hard left individuals, to basically take over the party. And they've done it. You know, the writing's on the wall. Pelosi's retiring. I saw another Democratic's House representative today saying she's retiring. I mean, I think they're starting to realize they're kind of jumping in a sinking ship because the best they can do is get up there and yell that they need free health care for illegal aliens. That doesn't compute in the head of most Americans. You see Democrats and liberals on TV killing people, getting in fights with people, fighting ICE, doing all these things that incite violence. And that's the Democratic playbook. You don't agree with us, you do something we don't like, we just try to come and beat you up or shoot you or, you know, push your table over if you're. I mean, we had another guy at a university tip over a turning point table at a school the other day. I mean, what are you accomplishing with that other than showing exactly who you are? And America has seen who the Democrats are. Plain and simple. There's no hiding behind the mask anymore. Everybody knows who you are. And the fact that you've let your whole Democratic Party, everything you stood for, everything that you built over all these years and years and decades and decades and decades, they come in and completely, in a 4-year period, trash your whole party. And the Democratic leaders let that happen, all because of the fact that they do not like one man. They have let their hatred for one person on this planet destroy the entire Democratic Party. One man. And then they get upset that Trump keeps beating them. Trump's not beating you. You're beating yourselves. It's just Trump's not giving in to your crybabies. They all think that when they say something, that they want something, that they're just supposed to get it. And Trump's come in as the stern leader and father that says, no, we're not doing that. So what do the Democrats do? They cry, they pout, they pitch fits, they act like babies, essentially, because they didn't get what they wanted. Their children, from the youngest Democrat up to the oldest. You're a child. You have the mentality of a baby. And I'm including all, if you still identify as a Democrat, that includes you. Because of all you've seen, especially over the last 2 years, everything that's happened, you've seen it as well as I have. If you still want to be associated with the Democratic Party, You're a big baby. And I don't differentiate between, well, I've always been Democrat. I don't care. You allowed these people to come in and do all of this, ruin your party. Well, I don't agree with everything. I don't care. If you could get rid of the hatred for one man out of your head and allow yourself to see around you what is actually happening, you might have been able to save your party, but it's too late. It's too late. And then we had these elections where everybody was saying it was a blue wave. They were blue cities and states. Blue cities and states voted for blue candidates. That's not surprising. It's not a wave. It's just business as usual. There's nothing to brag about there. You know, if I was if I lived in Virginia and did not live, say, on the east side of Virginia, and I lived on the west side of Virginia, you could bet that I would be pushing to separate from that side of Virginia. You people are not being represented, the people that are on the west side of Virginia. You're not being represented at all. And you know it. But nothing's going to change until you stand up and say, hey, we've had enough of this. We don't want men and boys looking at girls changing clothes or watching them use the bathroom. We don't want that. We don't want our daughter to have to compete against a man. We don't want our children's genitals mutilated. Which, that one, I don't even understand why that's an issue. That should not even be an issue. But, there's parts of California that should probably secede from that state also and just go do their own thing. But Virginia, definitely. There's going to be some big changes in Virginia. And it's almost going to be impossible for West Virginia to, not West Virginia the state, but Western Virginia to be ever represented again in their state. Unless a bunch of people in Washington wise up, which I don't see happening either. I'm just going to close and say I am glad the shutdown is close to being over. Hopefully Wednesday the House votes on it. Hopefully maybe that same day Trump can sign it and we can get moving on. I do want to correct myself on something because I don't remember if it was the last episode or the episode before that I wasn't agreeing with Trump about that whole nuclear option. But then he said something that kind of made me rethink that my stance on that. Because he's right. As soon as if the Democrats ever get back in the majority in the Senate, they are going to completely do away with the filibuster. And it's just going to be a head-to-head voting, majority rules. They're going to do that. And I guess, it would be good if we would have, went with the nuclear option. We have the majority. We just push through everything that's on Trump's agenda, get this country back right, and then hopefully the Democrats would never be have a majority again, and we can just continue to ride this gravy train, right? And I think in my mind, I'm thinking Thune, other Republicans in the Senate. I think the reason they didn't is because there's that chance in the midterms. I guess they're afraid of losing seats to the Democrats, but they've screwed up anyway. Because if that happens, the Democrats will nuke the filibuster. It's just it'll be done 2 years earlier. So I don't know what the right thing to do was. Honestly, I didn't like the idea at all. I just didn't think that it was. I think that the filibuster needs to be there, but that's if everybody's playing fair, and not everybody's playing fair. So maybe the nuclear option was the right way to go. Maybe we should have given it a few more days. I don't know. But I am glad for people that need it open that the government is being open. That I am glad of that. And it's kind of useless now to debate how we got here, but it's open at least for now. For now, um, or as of Wednesday. So anyway, I guess that's all I'm going to talk about today. If there's something you want me to talk about or want my opinion on, I don't know if it's worth anything, but if you do, um, just email me, ask me. I'll address it. I'll tell you what I think. I don't know. And you got a bunch of Republicans also, which I think is why they didn't do the nuclear option, that are convinced the Republicans are going to get steamrolled in midterms just because of these elections in blue states. And I don't get it. But I really think, I don't think Republicans and MAGA are going to be really one party for long. Not after Trump leaves. I do think the traditional Republican Party is going to want to take control back from MAGA because everybody's thinking that MAGA is going to be gone as soon as Trump's gone. And that's just not true. I hate it. I hate to ruin the party that everybody's been waiting on. They want us to go away. That's another reason they want Trump gone is so that we all go away. We get off their backs. Well, it's just not happening. And with the way the Democratic Party is going, it wouldn't surprise me that in the future we're still a two-party system, but it's Republicans and MAGA. Like I said on the first show, I don't really necessarily consider myself a Republican. And Trump doesn't either, but they're the closest thing to, you know, his convictions and how he chooses to see the world. It's so far from the Democratic thought process that he had to go with the Republican, right? Because you're just not gonna you're just not gonna win an election in this country as a third party candidate because it's been so ingrained in us over the years. Which I'm glad a lot of people, 78 million of us, have woken up and said, it doesn't always have to be just exactly how it's been. You know, doing what we've been doing is not working anymore. People keep saying we're too patriotic. We're we're not very smart. We're not very we don't really know about the world. If you think as a pennyways little college graduate, which I am a college graduate, but I went to college before they brainwashed you. I went to college and I just learned my profession, which is what college is supposed to be for. Sure, it's supposed to broaden your horizons and introduce you to new people and, help you see a part of the world maybe that you've never seen because you've never been exposed to it before. But it's not supposed to brainwash you into totally changing everything that you've been taught by your parents. It's not supposed to tell you that your parents are the enemy. The people who gave birth to you, the people that raised you to be a good person. It's not supposed to totally 180 that, right? It's supposed to add to it. It's not supposed to replace it. But I digress. But if you think that you know more about the world than most of us who have been working jobs since we were probably 14 years old, that's when I started. But if you think you know more about how this world works than we do, you are more delusional than I thought. You don't know shit, okay? You don't. And you want to get on your little TikTok and tell us how stupid we are. That's going to just endear you to other people, right? That's going to change somebody's mind to your side. That doesn't change jack shit. All that does is push people further away from your cause. And the fact that you've never been taught to associate or be able to debate or have a civil conversation with anyone that doesn't agree 100% with you is the reason for that. You've never been taught any different. At least not since you were in middle school. And I'm sure not then either. It's not as much, which is getting younger and younger now. But, I saw a lady at a school board meeting the other day stating how we need to get to these kids when they're younger, not start this indoctrination in high school. We need to take it all the way back to elementary school. Which, I mean, basically they've been trying to do that. But she came out and said what they're trying to do. She said the quiet part out loud, right? And then asked for money to do it. And somebody caught it on camera. That's what our education system is these days, people. And then you wonder why we we don't want the Department of Education around anymore. The Department of Education was formed in 1978 by Jimmy Carter, the second worst president in United States history. And ever since then, reading, math, science, everything, those scores have dropped significantly because federal government got involved in telling school districts what they could and could not do. That should be another lesson in socialism. You put the government in charge. And then you had W come in with the damn No Child Left Behind, which caused it to disintegrate even more. You had you had standards being lowered just so somebody dragging behind could somewhat catch up, instead of letting the people that could excel, allowing them to excel. They have to be dumbed down to be on the same level as Joey here, that is not excelling at all. But we can't have Joey feeling bad about himself, right? So let's take these kids that are excelling and move them down the totem pole so Joey can be on the same level. Which is it's the most ridiculous thing in the world, but that's what they did and are continuing to do. That's why test scores are going down so much and have been dropping every year since 1978. But then everybody wants to get up in an uproar because Trump wants to do away with the Department of Education. We did very well before the Department of Education was even formed. It wasn't until 1978. That's not ages ago. It's not like it's been around forever and that it's been helping people forever since this country was started. No. And the same could be said for most of these departments that he's dismantling anyway. It's just bureaucratic red tape that takes time and resources away from where they really need to be. And that's, I know I've skipped over, but I get off on these tangents and I'm sorry. I know I do. I don't mean to, but I think I went from talking about Republicans in midterms to the Department of Education. How did I get there? I don't know. But another good thing that happened is the Olympic Committee, International Olympic Committee, is about to announce that they are banning males from competing against females. And I'm sorry, but transgender women are men. I'm not going to call them women. And I'm not going to say transgender woman. You're a man. I don't care if you're wearing a dress. You're a man. You don't belong in children's restrooms or women's restrooms. You just don't belong there. It's simple biology. Read a book. So I think that's where we're going to end it for today. I've said enough, probably too much. All right, but like I said, if you've got anything you want me to discuss or talk about, or any questions or anything, you can email me at rightlyspeaking@gmail.com. So until the next episode, I'll see you guys. Bye.
This has been a presentation of Way More Entertainment.